Okay, order please. I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is the Standing Committee on Public Accounts. And our committee mandate is that we are established for the purpose of reviewing the public accounts, the annual report or other report of the Auditor General, and any other financial matters respecting the public funds of the province. My name is Susan LeBlanc, and I'm the chair of the committee. I'm the MLA for Dartmouth North, and I use she, her pronouns. And before we begin, I would like to ask you all to make sure your phones are on silent. And if we need to leave in an emergency, we'll exit through the Granville Street doors and then meet at the Grand Parade. So I will begin by asking the committee members to introduce themselves, beginning with the member on my left. I'll ask you to say your name, your constituency, and your pronouns, please.
Good morning. Marco McLeod, Pictou West, he, him.
Good morning. Brian Wong, Waverley Fall River Beaverbank, he, him.
Good morning, Danny McGilvery, Pictou Center, he, him.
Good morning, Tim Outh at Bedford Basin, he, him, Tim. Thank you.
Good morning, Derek Mumbercat, City Member 2, he, him.
Lisa LaChance, Halifax Citadel, Sable Island, they, them.
Good morning, Diane Timmons from Victoria Lakes, and it's she, her.
Thank you very much. And we also have officials with us from the Auditor General's Office, the Legislative Council Office, and the Legislative Committee's Office. And on today's agenda, we have officials with us from many departments and organizations, the Department of Energy, Department of Service Nova Scotia, Efficiency Nova Scotia, the Affordable Energy Coalition, and Nova Scotia Power regarding the review of energy affordability programs. So I will ask the witnesses now to please introduce yourselves, beginning with Mr. Lanteigne, and please let us know your pronouns as well. Thank you.
Good morning, Chris Lanteigne from Nova Scotia Power. Pronouns are he, him.
Chris Benjamin, I'm the co-chair of the Affordable Energy Coalition, he, him.
Rob Burns, I'm the Interim Chief Operating Officer for Efficiency Nova Scotia, and my pronouns are he, him.
Martha Casey from Efficiency Nova Scotia, she, her.
Good morning, I'm Stephen MacDonald, Deputy Minister of Energy. My pronouns are he, him.
Peter Craig, Director of Electricity for the Department of Energy, he, him.
Good morning, everyone. Deputy Minister Joanne Munro for Service Nova Scotia. My pronouns are she, her.
Gary O'Toole, Service Nova Scotia, he, him.
Okay, thank you very much. It's a big crowd, and you're all very welcome here. I will ask our witnesses to make some opening remarks, beginning with the Department of Energy. Well, I'll just ask you when it's your turn. But also, I just want to remind everyone in this with this busy meeting that if you can wait till you are acknowledged by the chair so your microphone turns on, you don't need to touch your microphones. I'm sure Kim has gone through all that. So let's begin with Deputy Minister MacDonald for the Department of Energy.
Thank you, and good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak about energy affordability. I'm joined by Peter Craig, Director of Electricity from the department. I had the opportunity to appear before the Natural Resources and Economic Development Committee a couple of weeks ago, and I expect we'll touch on some of the same topics today. We talked about the rising cost of living, including higher energy bills, and the actions the province is taking to support Nova Scotians. We know that many people are struggling. We know changes are needed in how our systems work, which is why there are many initiatives underway. The province supports Nova Scotians in practical ways to help cover essential costs, with a key focus on those who need it most. Deputy Munro can speak to those supports delivered through Service Nova Scotia. A few other relevant programs that I would like to mention include the Seniors Care Grant, diversion funding from Opportunities and Social Development, reduced income and sales taxes, and the school lunch program, just to name a few. The province has acted to protect Nova Scotians from rising energy costs. First, by helping them reduce their energy use and saving them money month after month through energy efficiency programming. Since 2022, $250 million in provincial funding has helped attract $300 million in federal funds, all of which the province directed to help Nova Scotians access energy efficiency programs. These programs help upgrade about 47,000 households, permanently reducing their energy bills. The province has also acted to shield Nova Scotians from sudden and significant rate increases by legislating a cap on electricity rates, providing low-cost financing to Nova Scotia Power to reduce fuel-related charges, opposing Nova Scotia Power's applications for higher rates through the Nova Scotia Energy Board. And the last important and additional point I'll make is that the province has been fundamentally changing how the electricity system works in ways that result in stable, predictable prices over time and strengthen our energy security and reliability. This includes expanding local energy production and storage. That means building out onshore wind farms, solar, and local battery storage, establishing the Clean Electricity Solutions Task Force to take a look at how the province should change the structure of the electricity system, creating the not-for-profit independent energy system operator to do long-term planning to determine only what the system needs and how to get it at the best price, restructuring the regulatory oversight for energy matters, and encouraging new oil and gas development so we have a chance to shift from using imported fuels to the ones that Nova Scotians produce here. While we know all of these measures benefit Nova Scotians on their own, they will not eliminate energy poverty. That's why the province is interested in growing the economy and creating more good-paying jobs so that people have the income they need to pay their bills. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to Deputy Minister Munro from Service Nova Scotia, please.
Good morning, Chair and committee members. I'm pleased to join you today, along with my colleagues from Service Nova Scotia, to talk about energy affordability programs. Chair, Service Nova Scotia helps connect people with government. As the province's service delivery department, we provide essential services, often on behalf of other departments that support Nova Scotians, businesses, and government. Today, I'll focus on 3 energy affordability programs delivered by Service Nova Scotia: the Heating Assistance Rebate Program, Home Energy Assistance Top-Up, and the Energy Rebate, Your Energy Rebate Program. Chair, these programs are responsive and make a real difference for Nova Scotians. The Heating Assistance Rebate Program is an annual, one-time rebate of heating expenses for low-income households. It has helped tens of thousands of households since 2020 to pay their home heating bills. This represents an investment of over $350 million. In 25-26, HARP provided a rebate of $400 to more than 54,000 households. This represents an expenditure of more than $21 million. We work to make HARP as accessible as possible for eligible Nova Scotians. HARP was among the first provincial programs to offer online application and direct deposit. Our goal is to get the rebate into the hands of Nova Scotians as quickly as possible. Revising the property tax rebate for seniors form is another step we took to make it easier for people to apply. In 25, over 19,000 households opted in to the Heating Assistance Rebate Program through the property tax rebate, eliminating the need for a second application. The Home Energy Top-Up Fund is a supplementary program to HARP. It's administered by the Salvation Army and funded by Service Nova Scotia and Nova Scotia Power, Inc. Our department contributes up to $800,000 annually. The program is designed to assist those experiencing emergency heating situations. A maximum amount of $400 is provided by arranging for fuel delivery from local vendors or applying it to an outstanding bill with Nova Scotia Power. People can apply every 2 years, and if they meet criterion of both programs, someone could receive both a $400 rebate from HARP and a $400 rebate in emergency assistance from the HEAT program. The Your Energy program is the largest rebate program administered by Service Nova Scotia, but owned by the Department of Finance and Treasury Board. It issued $145 million in rebates last fiscal year. Most Nova Scotians will get this rebate automatically when they buy energy. It doesn't depend on your income level. Chair, the department is pleased to have a role in the delivery of these 3 programs to help Nova Scotians, particularly our most vulnerable, to manage their home heating costs. Thank you, and I look forward to the questions.
Thank you very much. And now we'll move to Ms. Casey from Efficiency Nova Scotia, please.
Thank you. Good morning. Energy costs are a major challenge for households across Nova Scotia, particularly for low and moderate income families, seniors, renters, and people living in rural and older housing. Our programs have helped more than 242,000 Nova Scotians save on their energy bills. Since 2011, Nova Scotians are saving $6.4 billion in lifetime energy bill savings, including $849 million for low-income homeowners and renters. Our work also helps support over 5,000 well-paid jobs across Nova Scotia. Efficiency One delivers a suite of income-qualified energy efficiency programs designed specifically to support households experiencing energy affordability challenges. The goal is straightforward: reduce the amount of energy a home requires so that households see lower energy bills year after year. This is not just short-term relief. For example, someone going through our home warming program will save an average of $16,000 in lifetime energy bill savings. That's about $1,100 annually, and that makes a real difference. And we hear from Nova Scotians every day about the impact our work has. This impact reduces energy bills and puts money back in their pockets when they need it most. This is particularly important for the 30% of homes still heating with home heating oil. This is where energy efficiency is one of the only ways to manage increasingly volatile fuel costs. Finally, accountability is central to our work. We operate under strong governance and financial controls with regular reporting to government, regulators, and funders. Our program costs, outcomes, and performance are thoroughly reviewed through audits and evaluations, and we continuously improve program design based on evidence and participant feedback. We remain committed to responsible stewardship of public funds and to supporting Nova Scotians through effective, well-managed programs in a very challenging economic time. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I'll move to Mr. Benjamin from the Affordable Energy Coalition.
Thanks for the invitation to speak today. In early 2024, the Clean Electricity Solutions Task Force recommended fixing energy poverty following the Ontario model. Then the Energy Poverty Task Force hired economist Roger Colton, who wrote the Ontario program and dozens of others like it, to create a made in Nova Scotia solution based on our unique energy mix which is heavy on oil and wood and has a lot of old buildings that don't meet modern building codes. Oil-heated homes spend 80% more on home energy than electrically heated homes. Oil is also volatile, subject to spiking prices, as happened when Russia invaded Ukraine, and again when the USA and Israel bombed Iran recently. Government-funded assistance through programs mentioned like the Heating Assistance Rebate Program, or HARP, reduce energy poverty. Last year, government reduced HARP payments, however, to $400 per household and decrease the income a household can earn and qualify, which cut thousands of homes from the program. So in a way forward, Roger Colton recommended what is now estimated to be a $50 million program with 4 components. That's not much more than what government just recently committed to fracking, mostly incentives for industry, just by comparison. For that amount, we could provide 4 things. 1, an on-bill energy discount of 50% for households earning below the low-income cutoff. 2, an arrears management and forgiveness program. 3, an emergency intervention fund for when things get really bad for a household, and 4, ramped up efficiency programming for low-income households. If a household participates in any one of these 4 components, they're given access to all 4. So no one will fall through the cracks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And finally, last but not least, Mr. Lanteigne from Nova Scotia Power, please.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to be here today. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the chair, members of the committee. I appreciate the opportunity to appear before the committee and to contribute to today's discussion. As mentioned, my name is Chris Lanteigne. I lead the customer care team at Nova Scotia Power. My team and I speak to customers every day. We help them manage their electricity bills, answer questions, and work through challenges. What we hear consistently from customers who are struggling is the pressure they're feeling from the rising costs of living and how important it is to have options and flexibility. That feedback shapes how we support our customers. We're focused on helping people find solutions to manage their bills. When customers have realistic options, it leads to fewer disconnections and more stability. We offer equal billing, interest-free payment plans that allow customers to spread costs over 12 or 24 months, and for more than a year, we haven't charged late fees, interest, or disconnected customers because of cyber-related billing issues. We have a low-income advocate who works closely with our teams to provide practical, compassionate solutions. Our employees live and work across every community in the province, and we know that local organizations are the backbone of Nova Scotia. We support local organizations through a variety of broader community-based initiatives like food pantries, building upgrades, and community gardens. And we continue to support the Salvation Army-administered Heat Fund, which helps hundreds of Nova Scotians every year. We know there's more work ahead, and we're committed to working together. Thank you, and I do look forward to the conversation.
Thank you very much. We'll go to members' questions now, and we'll start the first round with MLA Lachance, please.
Thank you, and thank you to everyone for being here. I do appreciate that a similar conversation was started a couple of weeks ago. I'm hoping that we can move that conversation forward since there have been some changes and a chance to follow up on some of the questions. I had a chance to review a portion of the meeting from NRED, so I have a sense of some of the things that were discussed. I know, we heard, at the previous meeting from the town, a representative from the town of Bridgewater, about how their residents are really struggling to afford energy to heat their homes. So, 1 in 3 seeing their breath inside, and this is really congruent with the stories that we hear all the time from Nova Scotians. So the choices between paying for power or prescriptions or groceries and that sort of thing. So Deputy MacDonald, last month you weren't sure what the Energy Minister's intentions were in terms of the Energy Poverty Task Force recommendations that have just been outlined. Can you tell this committee if there's been any change? Have you had a chance to discuss this with the minister, and what are the plans to look at the task force recommendations?
Deputy MacDonald?
Yeah, thank you very much. Affordability across the board is a real challenge right now, whether that's food, rent, energy, prescriptions, as was noted. And there are challenges everyone is facing, particularly those low to moderate income. The work of the Energy Poverty Task Force reinforced the importance of targeted supports for people in need and for long-term solutions. When the task force report and recommendations were produced, I understand the department did review the report, briefed the minister at the time, and I received a request yesterday from Mr. Gifford on behalf of the Energy Poverty Task Force to meet with myself and the Premier as Minister, and so that request is now in progress, if you will. I do think it's important to mention that the province has taken actions in many of the 4 areas that are recommended in the task force report. Those include immediate relief to folks who are challenged to pay their energy bill, whether that's through some of the programs that were mentioned, the Heating Assistance Rebate Program or the Heating Assistance Top-Up. Apologies if I have the name off. But also the province is taking many longer-term actions to ensure that the price for electricity is predictable and stable over the long term.
Order, please. I forgot to mention that sometimes MLAs will flag me and say, as to say that they've heard their answer and that they'd like to move on. So I apologize for cutting you off, but I'll go back to MLA Lachance, please.
Yes, thank you. And I do apologize for that. We have limited time, so we want to make the best of it and hear from as many people as possible. So just quickly then, to confirm, has this energy minister, the Premier, been briefed on the recommendations from the Energy Poverty Task Force?
Deputy MacDonald?
I have not been involved in that briefing myself. My understanding is that, like any minister coming into a portfolio, there's a series of briefings. My expectations is that this topic would have been included in that briefing.
MLA Lachance.
Thank you. And so, yes, so as you know, we also wrote a follow-up letter from that meeting with NRED to encourage the Premier to meet with the Affordability Energy Coalition as soon as possible. And so my question is for Mr. Benjamin from the Affordable Energy Coalition. Has the Premier in his role of Energy Minister or anyone from the department reached out to set up this meeting?
Mr. Benjamin, please.
No, we haven't heard yet.
MLA Lachance?
So I guess back to Deputy MacDonald, what's like, I guess you said that a request has been put in, but kind of what's the plan? Like, you're the deputy, you work with the minister directly, so if this was a priority, I think the meeting could be set. So what is the plan going forward?
Deputy MacDonald.
Yeah, thank you. As I mentioned, the request came in to me yesterday to meet with myself and the Premier as Minister of Energy. That request, like all requests that come into the Minister/Premier, goes into a bit of a process. I'm of course open to meet with Mr. Gifford and members of the task force at any time. And but in terms of meeting with the Minister/Premier, the request has just gone into the system, if you will, so I can't speak to the exact timing and nature of it today.
MLA Lachance?
Great, thank you. And I'll leave that specific point alone for a while, but obviously, you know, we understand that lots of requests go into ministers' offices. If things are priorities, though, then those happen. So, you know, and the other thing that has changed over the past couple of weeks is that the Nova Scotia Power rate increase went through. So Nova Scotians are now paying again more for the power in our homes, and we'll be paying more again by the end of this year. So we've heard how challenging it is. I understand the various programs that exist. I guess what I would say is that when you have so many programs and services that people might be eligible to apply for, the onus and the other word of the use of the word efficiency, the efficiency of having people out sort of scrambling from programs here to afford their power to programs here to not lose their housing. It's a really inefficient way for us to ask Nova Scotians to live, I would say. And so one of the questions I have, for the now, for today, for next month, for the end of this year, Deputy MacDonald, will the Department of Energy conduct a review of the various energy affordability programs to look for ways in which some families might fall through the cracks, and also to look for ways in which essentially the efficiency of those programs can be increased?
Deputy MacDonald?
Yeah, thank you. That's an excellent question. The department is constantly looking at programs that it is responsible for or participates in some fashion with partners, either through funding, through Efficiency Nova Scotia, or working with Department of Service Nova Scotia to see how programs that are available to Nova Scotians can be well communicated, they're delivered as efficiently as you mentioned as possible, and that Nova Scotians who need to take advantage of them can access them. So what I would say is that review is constantly underway. I think appearances at the Natural Resource and Economic Committee and appearances today certainly shine light on the priority of making sure that Nova Scotians have access to the programs. And so I would, reviewing all programs is a priority, and making sure that it's done in the lowest cost manner as possible. So yes.
MLA Lachance, please.
Speaking of a program that this past year, I think Nova Scotians and we were disappointed to hear was essentially cut, like less people had access to it, was the heating assistance rebate program. And so as of April 20th, 64,000 fewer households received HARP this year compared to last year. So Deputy Munro, I'm wondering if you can tell us like what that number is now. And also, last fiscal year, the department spent $71.8 million on HARP, and I'm wondering how much was spent this fiscal year.
Deputy Munro?
So we received 72,518 applications this year, and we have approved and put the $400 out to 54,193 households within Nova Scotia. So the budget spent this year was around $21 million.
MLA Lachance?
I mean, that's a shocking reduction in my humble opinion. That's, this is something that's really touted as a program, that supports families, that supports seniors to stay in their homes and be able to afford their power. And essentially about 1/4 of what was spent previously was spent on this program. Essentially the changes that the government introduced to limit applications, to limit eligibility worked. I guess I'm wondering, does the department see this as a success, or how are you looking at these numbers?
Deputy Munro?
I would say yes, HARP is a success. I've been in the chair now for 12 years come July. The first change of the $200 rebate happened in 2021. And we are now helping last year, so the program has closed, so March 31st, the program closed. Another 9,000 households, the normal 45,000 households was pretty much the 10-year run. And now we've started to see the increase. With 25-26 calendar year, there was a number of affordability measures that came in. HARP is one. We also made the government had to make a number of very, very tough choices for this year. Last year, with the affordability measures around taxation, HST, the list of affordability measures that went on with 25-26 fiscal year.
Order, please. I apologize. MLA Lachance.
Thank you. Just focusing on energy affordability and energy for Nova Scotians. Mr. Benjamin, Nova Scotians spend more than the average Canadian on their home energy bills, so about 30% more. And, it's clear that the Department of Service Nova Scotia is spending much less through HARP. I'm wondering, through your work, how did the HARP cut impact Nova Scotians? And what do people do without that support?
Mr. Benjamin?
So the Affordable Energy Coalition, our membership is largely fuel funds and people doing direct service. So what they're experiencing is just more demand, and it's harder to keep up. And they ramp up their fundraising. A lot of the fundraising they do to support, they get some like Nova Scotia Power supports, they get occasional government supports at various levels, but they do a lot of community-based fundraising. It's churches, et cetera. And they're just stretched. They're more stretched when this situation happens, that the amount is reduced and the qualification gets harder, so fewer households qualify. And I also point out it is a one-time payment, and that's it's a great thing. It is a great program, but it needs financial support from government to make it work. And the fact that it's a one-time payment means the money comes in and the money goes out, versus what the Energy Poverty Task Force proposed is an ongoing, bill support so that families get relief based on the amount of their energy bill, whichever their source of energy, whether it's oil, wood, or electric, or whatever.
MLA Lachance with 7 minutes.
And I want to ask about the on-bill credits. So, you know, there is an unpredictability in terms of rates that affects people in their budgets, folks on fixed incomes, seniors whose income is not kept pace with the cost of living, including energy. So can you explain the on-bill credit program and how that would help Nova Scotians with more predictable approaches, I think?
Mr. Benjamin, please.
Sure. It's just that it's an amount that is based, and first of all, it's to qualify, you have to earn under the low income cutoff for the household. And we're not proposing the proposal from. And when I say we, I mean the whole Energy Poverty Task Force. It was not a proposal to replace HARP or other programs, although doing this would reduce demand for HARP. So the $50 million cost I mentioned would actually come down a little as people use less HARP. So users would qualify for one or the other of those programs, depending on where the greater benefit and need is. But it is based on a low-income cutoff. And so if you qualify, what it means is you get a rebate based on what your actual expenses are. And that's work that's built into the systems that would be created. But it's what it means is that every bill is just half as impactful. And when you talk about families making sacrifices of medicines and groceries, it's just that much more money that's available for those things. And it's ongoing rather than just once a year. $400 means a lot for many families, but it's one time versus ongoing support based on actual need.
MLA Lachance.
And I wanted to turn to Mr. Lanteigne. You know, so obviously you hear a lot about people's concerns about the cost of energy. And during the rate increase hearings, did you have a chance to meet with the Energy Minister during that process? And what steps did you recommend to the Minister at that time in terms of increasing affordability now for Nova Scotians?
Mr. Lanteigne?
Thank you for the question. I did not meet with the Energy Minister, and I'm not aware of any meetings that actually occurred. So,
MLA Lachance?
And have you been able to provide input into the Minister's office or to the Minister about where Nova Scotia Power sees opportunities for increasing affordability, you know, immediately for Nova Scotians?
Mr. Lanteigne?
thanks for the question again. So from my perspective, we spend, and myself personally, spend a lot of time actually meeting with members of the folks across this table, the Affordable Energy Coalition, and there are certain, members of the government departments that we meet with on a regular basis to talk about ways that we can help support our customers, Nova Scotians, with affordability concerns. In terms of direct engagement on the recommendations of the Energy Poverty Task Force, we have not been in direct contact with the ministers or the Premier's office. That said, we've stated, I think, in these committees before and publicly as well that, as further discussion around the Energy Poverty Task Force or any related programs exist, Nova Scotia Power will definitely be at the table and participating in those conversations.
MLA Lachance.
Since the May 1st increase in power bills for Nova Scotians, do you expect to see the need to help more Nova Scotians to afford their power?
Mr. Lanteigne?
Yes, we know that the rising cost of everything, as other members of the panel talked about, is increasing. Whether it's rent, food, shelter, and energy prices are going up. So we know that there's never a good time for a rate increase. Through the regulated process and the hearings that happened earlier this year, Nova Scotia Power has done what we can to keep rates as low as possible. But we do know that when any cost of living increases, that can put pressure on people. So it is something that we're definitely concerned about, and we want to do everything we can to help support our customers.
MLA LaChance with just over a minute.
Okay. And so, last year there were, or before the May 1st increase, about 8% of households were behind on their power bills. How will Nova Scotia Power support Nova Scotians going forward when they can't pay their bills?
Mr. Lanteigne.
Yes, I know I'm running out of time, but just really quickly, what we have been doing really since last April and even prior to that is making sure that customers know that they have options that are available to them, whether it's taking their balances and spreading them out interest-free if they run into challenges and they're unable to pay them. So we're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to listen to other representative stakeholders from across the communities, just to ensure that we're doing everything that we can within our control. But that's the big thing for us, is we want customers to know that if they're worried about a balance, that they can reach out to us. We are here to help.
MLA LaChance, you have 15 seconds.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to MLA Mumbercat, please.
20 minutes and 10 seconds. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks everyone for being here. I appreciate the opportunity to have a conversation about what's really impacting a lot of families. Listening intently to the comments that from the opening remarks, it's important, some of the funding that the deputy mentioned, like ultimately, like the feds put the money on the table and then the province has to put money in to actually receive the federal funds. So I argue it's not the province attracting the feds, it's actually the feds putting that money on the table. But I do want to dive right into I'll start off with Nova Scotia Power. Over the last year, there have been many high-profile cases where Nova Scotia Power customers were issued bills that were significantly higher than they should have been. During the Power rate hearing in January, Nova Scotia Power agreed to improve their high bill detection and response processes. Through you, Madam Chair, what changes have been made to ensure Nova Scotians never face these issues again?
Mr. Lanteigne.
Thank you very much for the question, and I do acknowledge that over the course of the past year, there have definitely been billing concerns that our customers have shared with us, and we take those very seriously, and it is something that we do. We apologize to our customers that those experiences did happen. I think the one thing I want to start with and note is that in the Natural Resources Committee back in November, we did talk about how we were on track for having our meters reconnected at the end of March. So the first thing to indicate is that that did occur. So we started issuing bills to customers based on true usage with over-the-air data on December the 23rd. And we've seen the amount of bills with true reads, if you will, not estimated, increase dramatically from December to the end of March. And really over the course of the last 6 weeks, that experience has been back to normal. So I think that was a really important first step for us, is to ensure that we're getting true reads on bills again, so that customers are getting the actual usage that they do have. I think a couple of other pieces that are really important to note is, as we really have worked through the last few months, the situation that we're dealing with was, in terms of higher bills, definitely exacerbated by the fact that we peak usage in winter. And so as bills were high, we wanted to make sure customers knew that they could reach out to us, talk to us. We've been working internally to try to ensure that we can flag bills that are high before they actually go out, have a look at them, and even in cases proactively reach out to customers so that we can, talk about that situation with them, because we do understand that it can be an impact. But I do believe that the return of, that normal level of bills going out with actual meter readings is going to significantly assist with this, and that's it's going to continue to be our focus to talk to any customer who has concerns to try to help them out.
MLA Mumbercat.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My next question, Nova Scotia Power recently, of course, received a rate increase, which our caucus opposed at the Energy Board meeting. My question through you, Madam Chair, is how many customers are currently in arrears with Nova Scotia Power bills?
Mr. Lanteigne.
Thank you for the question. I know a couple of weeks ago, I did talk that the latest data that it was about 8% of customers that were in arrears. At this point in time, it is about 8.7%. I was sharing data really at the beginning of the month, and we have the end of month data, so that's about a month difference between it. I think the big thing for us, again, just want to clearly state and reiterate, because I think this is really important, is our goal is going to be to support those customers to manage those balances. And, we want to ensure that they understand they have options available to them to spread the balances out. We've been really promoting that since the cyber incident affected us last year, and we're going to continue to do that because we want to make sure everybody's aware that they have those options to help manage any outstanding amounts.
MLA Mumbercat.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to move to the Department of Energy. And I'll say this, one of the themes that come out of this, and we've said it publicly before, is that, you have the Premier who's also the Minister of Energy, and you hear a lot of talk about energy. We're hearing offshore. There's a bid. We're hearing offshore wind. But what we're not hearing the minister talk about is energy poverty. It's like it's happening from the side of his desk. So I would argue that you need an independent Minister of Energy. You need a person who is solely responsible for the energy portfolio that can not only work on the opportunities that may be in front of the province and the programs, the wonderful programs that you all are involved with, trying to support people based on the decisions of the government, but there needs to be a full-time energy minister in this province based on everything that's happening, and I want to put that on the record today, because obviously the challenge becomes is that governments make decisions, ministers make decisions, and I argue that when it comes to the energy poverty side of things, it's being done from the side of the minister's desk. So my first question to the Department of Energy, and my colleague has talked about this too, Nova Scotians are clearly struggling with the cost of energy, and at the same time the government is reducing support available through programs like the Heating Assistance Rebate Program, which was cut substantially last year. Gas is now $2 per litre, and Nova Scotians have some of the highest energy poverty in the country. We want the government to take more action. Can the Department of Energy, what is the Department of Energy going to do to help Nova Scotians even more to afford these increased costs?
Mr. MacDonald.
Yeah, thank you. I should take a minute just to comment on the MLA's previous comments about the Premier, Minister of Energy. I think it's important to note the actions that the province has taken around energy affordability, the price of energy, whether that's electricity or the use of oil to heat homes in the province. I think the range of actions demonstrated both in the immediate term to help Nova Scotians, but also those actions that are more structural in nature to help stabilize the price, make it more predictable, make it both based on local energy sources. Energy security is such an important topic right now, and for any jurisdiction, those are all priorities of the Premier as Minister of Energy, and I guess as Premier. And so I think those actions are very tangible. On the question around what the province is doing around the cost of energy, energy affordability, I think it's important to look at energy and energy poverty and energy affordability through three different lenses. And so one is the price of energy, the second is the usage of that energy, and the third is around incomes, and which is a key determinant whether or not someone is facing energy affordability or energy poverty challenges. On the price of energy, the province has done several things. On the most recent general rate application, the province was a very strong intervener, opposed the general rate application. The Premier, through written remarks to the Energy Board, made the province's position clear. Although the Energy Board did approve a rate increase, it was not as large as what Nova Scotia Power had asked for. There's also several other initiatives that the province has undertaken to help stabilize the price of energy.
Order, please. I'll go to MLA Mumbercat.
Sorry, Deputy, I'm dealing with limited time, and you've mentioned some of these things in your opening comments, so I do want to continue on. At the April 28th Public Accounts meeting, my colleague asked the Deputy, Madam Chair, for an update on the government's full review of Nova Scotia Power. At the time, the Deputy said needed more information before providing an update for the review. Through you, Madam Chair, question to the Deputy. Do you have any additional information on the status of the review? Nova Scotians are wondering.
Deputy MacDonald.
Thank you. Look, what I would say is that the province has done significant work to review and restructure the electricity system, and that work has taken place over the last several years. one of the first major initiatives that I want to point to that's occurred is the creation of the Clean Electricity Solutions Task Force. This was a two-member panel that was appointed in April of 2023 to propose changes to look at modernizing our electricity system and ensure that Nova Scotians have access to clean, reliable, and affordable energy. The task force presented its report in February of 2024. One of the key things coming out of the recommendations of that task force was the Energy Reform Act of 2024. And this act introduced more transparency to our electricity system, but it also did two very impactful things. One was it helped establish the creation of an independent energy system operator. This nonprofit organization, which has since been stood up, will look after procurement of new energy resources, and importantly, it's also responsible for long-term planning for the electricity system, and it'll help ensure that decisions around future procurements of energy assets, all of which Nova Scotians pay for, are done in the best interest of Nova Scotians. And the second kind of very impactful thing coming out of the Energy Reform Act and the recommendations of the Clean Solutions Task Force was the creation of a standalone energy board with a focus on electricity energy systems. That's incredibly important as we look to the transformation our electricity system and our energy systems are going through. And the final point I'll mention is that to help enable all of this, and one of the key things in legislation is the commitment or goal to achieve 80% renewables by 2030, is the development and implementation of the Clean Power Plan. And that sets out the pathway for how this province will hit that 80% renewable goal by 2030. The plan itself includes many components, the development of wind resources, battery storage, but importantly, it helps Nova Scotians have access to a predictable and stable supply of electricity. So in terms of a review of Nova Scotia Power, I think it's important to consider the actions that have been taken for a review and changes to the broader electricity and energy system, of which Nova Scotia Power is a player.
MLA Marquette, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to move on to Efficiency 1. We'll give everybody a chance to answer some questions today. It's been over a year since Efficiency 1 stopped accepting solar homes applications, a program that helped thousands of Nova Scotians save millions on energy bills. To Efficiency Nova Scotia and the departments, is there any ongoing discussion to resume the residential solar funding programs?
We'll go to Ms. Casey first, please.
Thank you. So right now we're very focused on programs that primarily support low and moderate income customers. So we're always open and in conversations with our funding partners, both provincially and federally, about what best meets the needs for Nova Scotians. So this is a conversation that we continue to have, but right now the focus is on those low and moderate income programs.
MLA Marquette.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you. I can appreciate that. We all have that focus. We also, a lot of middle-income families utilize that program. It also put a lot of people to work across the province, where we saw the number of installations, of course, go up. It was considered the best program in the country at one point. I do want to ask a couple more questions about it. Have the solar panel installations gone down since the program ended last year?
Ms. Casey?
Thank you. I'd just like to acknowledge your comments. We're very proud of that program as well, and not just the impact it had for customers, but the economic impact it had across the province. In terms of the number of installations, I'll ask my colleague Rob Burns.
Yeah.
Mr. Burns?
Thank you for the question. Of course, we don't have data province-wide on how many installations have been done since that particular program closed, so I couldn't say with any degree of certainty if overall the number of installations of solar in the province has gone down. What I can say, however, is that this program has been extremely impactful. It has helped over 6,000 homeowners install solar PV systems since launching in 2018. And participants saved on average of about $2,000 a year on their energy bills, and collectively saved about $12.5 million annually on the energy bills. Now, important to note, however, that this program is designed to exist for a set period of time. So the intent of this program was to help establish a solar industry in Nova Scotia. And over time, the incentives for that program did kind of ratchet down as the industry became more self-sufficient. And so we don't have, as I said, we don't have the exact specific data to say whether installations that are done via the industry as a whole has decreased. But what we can say is that this program seeded an industry that is now very successful in the province.
Emily Mumbercat.
Thank you. Following that question, I know the solar homes applications closed in April 25, but approved projects had to be completed by March 31st of 2026. What percentage of the approved projects were not completed by March 31st? And is there, if they're not completed, is there an opportunity to extend that deadline to make sure they are?
Mr. Burns?
So funding for that program has ceased. We were able to, when that program closure was initially announced, we did have a wait list because, of course, upon ending of the program, we did receive quite a significant amount of applications. When we did an audit of how much funding was available at the end of that program, we were able to work through quite a bit of that wait list. And I believe the number of applications that came in that were ultimately not fulfilled was less than 150 individual applications. And the program, like I said, is now closed. So there's no opportunity or funding remaining within that funding pot in order to fulfill those particular projects. However, I will say there are some supports that the province currently funds for solar in general, and that's associated with a program that we have that is called Energy Forward New Homes. And that particular program will help new homeowners adopt solar in the interest of getting their energy costs down on new builds.
Emily Mumbercat with 4 minutes.
4 minutes. Okay, thank you. So I'll continue. This probably will be for efficiency too as well. The Canada Greeners Homes Grants and Loan was funded by Natural Resources Canada, administered by Efficiency Nova Scotia. Unfortunately, these programs, which supported over 25,000 grants being issued in Nova Scotia, ended last year. The end of the federally funded programs is driving up unit costs for Nova Scotians. How has the end of the Canada Greener Homes impacted Nova Scotians looking to save money on their power bills?
Ms. Casey?
Thank you. So all of these programs impact what customers save and the experience they have, what they're paying for energy. In terms of the specific quantification of the impact, I'll ask my colleague Rob Burns.
Mr. Burns, please.
Thank you again for the question. So as my colleague, Ms. Casey, had mentioned, we do have a suite of programs that are aimed at helping low-income and moderate-income Nova Scotians to save money on their energy bills. Canada Greener Homes was one of those. But you know, we still have what I would call unprecedented levels of funding from both the federal government and the provincial government to support our programming for energy efficiency for low-income individuals. And those programs continue to be extremely impactful. So we've, while the winding down of sometimes specific programs can also create, I would say, concern and stress. The program portfolio as a whole to support these particular groups of the population are very, very strong right now, and we have ongoing funding in order to support.
Emily Mumbercat.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And it is an important conversation. I remember back, way back when, now I guess, we were looking at a lot of programs, over 11,000 low-income places were done through efficiency. I remember those days. I talk to a lot of landlords within communities who are really kind of struggling with the power bills themselves. What are you looking at incentives for landlords? Of course, we want to support the family that is living within the unit, but we've tabled legislation as a caucus too over the years to look at what incentives could be there for the actual landlord themselves to apply for their buildings that would help drive down their cost too as well, because we see people getting out of the business because it's just the cost of doing business, and for some of the smaller the landlords that have smaller volume of units across the province are saying we just can't do it anymore. So through you, Madam Chair, with the time remaining, I think this will probably be my last question for this round.
Mr. Burns with 1 minute.
Perfect.
Quickly, we do have a program. It's called Affordable Multifamily Housing Program, and there are streams of that program that provide incentives for owners of those units, whether they be multi-unit residential units, shelters, or transition houses, or nonprofit support services that can help them save up to 100% of energy efficiency upgrade costs. Those help keep rents down for people. So those benefits flow directly to the renter, because participants in this program are required to keep rent at affordable levels in order to qualify for the program.
Okay, thank you. Do you want your last 25 seconds? MLA Member Cat.
Why not? No, I appreciate it. I will reiterate, though, that in the questioning that we've heard today and before, multiple requests for meetings have not happened with the energy minister. People are and organizations are not getting access to the minister. There should be a full-time minister of that department.
Thank you very much. We will move on to MLA McLeod, please.
Thank you, Chair. This question is directed to Efficiency Nova Scotia. So I was curious, in your organization and in your operations, are there any internal targets, perhaps in terms of like how many homes you're looking to renovate or make more energy efficient, or even how many heat pumps you'd like to install in Nova Scotia homes, or maybe your goal is just to deliver funds as quickly as possible to those who need it. Can you kind of describe if you have any internal goals or targets?
Ms. Casey?
Yes, thank you. Every single one of our program has targets associated with it, and it's not just a matter of getting a number of heat pumps, or it's what measures best benefit the customer. So it's not always, we try to be responsive to customers' needs rather than be just prescriptive. So on the regulated side, we issue quarterly reports, outlining exactly what our performance is against those targets, and we're very proud of how we've performed historically. Similarly, with all of our provincial programs, we meet with the department regularly and our partners to review those targets, and we've been very pleased. So it's focused on the number of customers and what measures we've installed, depending on what the program requires.
MLA McLeod?
Thank you, Chair. Several of your programs that you have are targeted to improve the efficiency of homes, making them tighter, airtight. I was wondering, I know it's hard to quantify, but is there a number of maybe the not only the money savings, but how much less energy we are using due to those efficiencies? What is the impact on the grid? And with that number in mind, if there is one, is it enough to affect power rates?
Ms. Casey.
Thank you. Yes, so we do have, that is one of our specific targets that we report annually, and I'll ask my colleague to let us know what that number is. But in the meantime, it is some of the work that we do together with Nova Scotia Power, focusing on how we can support the grid, is power that at peak times, how we can work with customers to use less power during those periods to ensure that the grid isn't overtaxed. So we've ramped up those programs in recent years, and we've seen great success. And maybe if I could ask my colleague to.
Mr. Burns, please.
Thank you for the question. As Ms. Casey said in her opening statements, we are an organization of accountability, and the work that we do on behalf of ratepayers in Nova Scotia through our demand-side management programming is audited in a very detailed way for the energy savings and the benefit that we provide to the grid. So in order for those programs to be approved for delivery through that mechanism, they have to provide more benefit to the ratepayer than the cost. And it varies from year to year, but typically the energy savings that we receive that we generate through our demand-side management programming on behalf of the ratepayers in Nova Scotia is on the order of 120 gigawatt hours, so those programs have real impact to the grid, and they also have real impact to the ratepayer, because what we're talking about here is affordability. And I'll just give an example. So for the demand-side management plan that we have before the Energy Board currently, we anticipate that will generate over $650 million in direct energy bill savings. So that's just direct bill savings. That's not the broader cost, the broader benefit to the electricity system to the ratepayers of Nova Scotia, based on an investment that is obviously much less than that, somewhere in the $300 million range.
Emily McLeod?
I'm going to repackage a question that MLA Lachance asked earlier, but I'll direct it to Efficiency Nova Scotia, and it has to do with residents and Nova Scotians, ratepayers. How do they know which programs they're eligible for? I'm assuming your website is a one-stop shop, but a lot of times the folks coming into our MLA offices, maybe they're not as well versed in technology, and maybe that's a barrier. What's the best way for folks to see if they can qualify for these programs?
Ms. Casey?
Sure, thank you. So you're right, our website is a one-stop shop, but we also have a contact center that has staff available who are very, very familiar with all of our programs, and people are able to reach out. We have an information management system that that's able to sort of direct our staff on how to advise customers on what program or programs would be most beneficial. We've also undertaken an exercise to make, much like MLA Lachance had mentioned about efficiency, how customers actually understand what programs are available to them. We've tried to consolidate this a little bit so it's more accessible for the everyday person. And I acknowledge it can be quite confusing. There are a number of things on the table. So we're working through something that makes there may be fewer program names, but more customers can actually access them. We also have navigators, which support some of our customers in actually stepping through from beginning to end what those, the upgrades and what best steps they can take. So somebody may call and say, I'd like to have a heat pump, but that doesn't actually make sense for them. So we'll actually walk them through what upgrades would be better for them in their specific circumstance. So we recognize that there is some complexity, but it's not one size fits all.
MLA Wong, please.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you all for being here today. So a couple of comments, and then my questions are to be directed to Department of Energy and perhaps Service Nova Scotia. But nobody was happy with the power rate increase that was recently approved by the Independent Energy Board. Given time, given place, it was not a good call to have Nova Scotians pay for electricity. So looking back, I have a question that's looking back and a question looking forward. But looking back to 2021, what are the measures that have been taken in order to help stabilize energy prices for Nova Scotians, to protect them from having electricity costs even go higher? I know some programs have already been mentioned, but I'd like to hear, what has happened, what's the impact? And then moving forward, we know that the Energy Minister has been traveling the world to try to sell Nova Scotia's natural resources, our wind, our green hydrogen, the resources we have beneath our feet. So what are the things that is happening right now and moving forward? And even thinking about what's been talked about today is mostly targeted programs. But the other side of that, if Nova Scotians, if the government is giving back money through targeted programs, what's the potential to increase the incomes of everybody across Nova Scotia? So that's kind of what I'm looking at. So maybe I'll start with Mr. MacDonald.
Okay, Mr. MacDonald, please.
Thank you. And if the chair would allow, perhaps my colleague, Mr. Craig, could take the first part of the question on what's been done around the price of electricity. You okay to jump in?
Sure. Mr. Craig, please.
Thanks, Madam Chair. And thank you for the question, Emily Wong. Government has undertaken a number of measures since 2021. I will try to do them in order, but forgive me if they get out of place a bit. But starting with greenhouse gas relief for Nova Scotia Power due to some compliance issues with the Maritime Link that would have placed Nova Scotia Power in a position where they would have had to, I don't want to call it a fine, but would have had to contribute to government in a way that would have disprivileged ratepayers. Government waived that. That was $165 million that ratepayers did not have to pay at that time. Similarly, and actually a number of the problems associated with rates stem from the same cause, delays associated with the Muskrat Falls Maritime Link project. And government was instrumental in ensuring that those costs and delays did not make it through to ratepayers. So similarly, there was an alternative compliance plan for sulfur regulations from stack emissions that sought to provide Nova Scotia Power the flexibility to ensure that while still complying with the overall amount of sulfur emitted into the atmosphere, that emission would be spread across an appropriate time frame that would ensure that ratepayers, again, were not saddled with additional cost burden for compliance that was impractical given the expectation that the Maritime Link would be online. Again, following on the Maritime Link issue, a significant amount of extra fuel costs was forced to be expended by Nova Scotia Power on behalf of ratepayers to maintain electricity service, while at the same time paying for the construction of the Maritime Link. To ensure that those costs didn't make it through to ratepayers, as Deputy MacDonald mentioned, government facilitated a loan system of $117 million directly to ratepayers to ensure that funding would not be passed through. And again, government was instrumental in contributing, in ensuring that a federal loan guarantee of $500 million was prepared and exercised on behalf of ratepayers to expand the Maritime Link loan up by $500 million and push that across the 35 years associated with that program to substantially reduce rates. And I think it was reported at that time that rates would have gone up by 19%, and instead that was reduced down to 2% associated with that. That's on top of some work we did back in the 2022 rate hearing to try to limit rate increases. And that's on top of, as you said, as Emily McLeod's questions were, the efficiency programming that has been put in place, the restructuring activities that government has undertaken to ensure that decisions are made that ensure energy efficiency is being directed in a way that lowers overall bills, not just for the individuals who participate in the programming, but it removes the need to build resources that would otherwise have been necessary and removes those future costs from Nova Scotians. And maybe what I would say is the most important single initiative is the future-looking, and I say this because we must divide affordability into kind of a short-term, medium-term, and long-term. And the short term are some of the programs that government has already talked about, but the medium term and long term must be taken on because these decisions that are made today will impact ratepayers long into the future because energy infrastructure is slow to build, and when it is built, exists for a long time, and ratepayers pay for it during that entire period. So government has made a massive change by taking the decision-making out of the for-profit entity Nova Scotia Power and placing long-term planning with the not-for-profit independent energy system operator. And this will ensure that the implementation of the Clean Power Plan and any long-term planning issues going forward will be made purely on the interest of ratepayers with no other possible avenue. And I think that we will quickly see, if you're following the regulatory system, that the implementation of ISO is going to start saving customers money quite quickly within the next few years, and decision-making will be more transparent. It will be more straightforward to see what that decision-making is. And I stress that these infrastructure decisions, while they don't appear as immediately impactful as the programmatic ones, are perhaps more important in the long term. The procurement of wind energy in particular is instrumental in removing that exposure of electricity ratepayers to market volatility in the form of world fossil fuel prices. I think we're going through a period right now where I know that we can't all see the numbers, but if we had not taken the steps of the wind procurements that we had done, then ratepayers would be much more exposed to that fossil fuel price increase than they are today. I will leave it there.
MLA Wong, do you want to hear from Deputy MacDonald as well?
If I could just comment.
Yep, go ahead, MLA Wong.
Yeah, and thank you for that. And there are things that you mentioned that I think a lot of people don't understand. It's been a while as well. So really, what I'd like to hear a little bit more about is that the initiatives that the Energy Minister is currently doing and the potential impact for Nova Scotians on stability for energy prices. If Mr. MacDonald, if you could.
Mr. MacDonald.
Thanks very much for the question. My colleague, Mr. Craig, covered some of those items in his response, but I'll touch on a few additional ones. Nova Scotia is blessed with natural resources, and the development of those natural resources, whether they're onshore, offshore wind, offshore oil and gas, onshore gas, solar, present not only an opportunity to stabilize and ensure more predictability in our energy prices going forward, but to develop our local economy. These are significant industries. The development of offshore wind through the Wind West project has enormous potential to provide Canada, other jurisdictions, potentially Nova Scotia, with an abundance of clean energy. There are some estimates that Wind West can supply as much as 20 to 25% of Canada's entire electricity use. As grids across Canada and the economy electrifies, that source of clean, reliable, predictable energy through offshore wind will be so critical to this province's economy. The Premier, as Minister of Energy, and staff from the department have been actively promoting this resource to other jurisdictions, ensuring that there is a market in place, there is interest for developing this resource, and that extends also to the offshore oil and gas and the onshore gas part as well. Nova Scotia's estimated reserves of onshore gas are significant, can supply the province with its natural gas needs upwards of 200 years. Gas that's currently used in the province is all imported, and we have the resource here locally that'll provide good jobs, stabilize the price, lower the price over time, but also help with the economy. I'll just make a couple of additional points. Something that Mr. Craig talked about, which has been ongoing for several years, is the development of onshore wind projects. I'm sure that all Nova Scotians have seen, to some extent or another, wind turbines that are increasing across the province. Those projects provide good local jobs, both in the construction and but also ongoing maintenance and servicing of those wind turbines. landholders who lease space or right-of-ways for both the turbines and any transmission. They often receive a royalty. That's income. It's often in rural Nova Scotia. These wind turbines are located, but also they're being procured at a very competitive price compared to the rising costs of coal, for example, or I mentioned importing natural gas. It's a real success story for the province. And the final piece I'll mention, which has gotten talked about here this morning, but I think it's important to mention, is energy efficiency. Energy efficiency is an industry in the province, and it's an important part of the energy industry and the economic side of the energy industry. My colleagues from Efficiency One can speak in more detail about the numbers, but I think there's something like 5,000 direct jobs in the province just in the energy efficiency industry. So that's all of the electricians, the contractors installing heat pumps, doing maintenance, doing insulation, building contractors that do all the work of this industry, which is an incredibly important part of making sure that energy is affordable. Nova Scotians are only using the energy that they require, but it is a very impactful industry in the province.
Emily McGilvery with 45 seconds.
Okay. Just very quickly, I guess. So it's for Mr. Lanteigne. I'm actually not going to get this off in 45 seconds, probably. So
You can try.
It's nice to be here today.
So thank you, Chair, and I'd like to thank all the witnesses for being here this morning, taking time out of your busy day. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll get back to you. MLA Lachance, please.
Great, thank you. And so this is the speed round. I understand I have 10 minutes. So I want to return to the HARP numbers. So looking at the math, so that means that for the heating assistance rebate program, 54% less households were funded in the past year, and there was a 70% reduction in funding. And so at a time when energy poverty is getting worse, I guess I'm wondering what's next with this program. Are there further reductions anticipated?
Deputy Munro.
Thank you for the question. So what I will say is that the year of this particular budget, 26-27, the budget for HARP is $33.1 million, which is the same as the budget as last year. So with all the cuts that have come across, we know it's been a very tough year, tough decisions. The HARP budget has and will remain the same for the year coming. What we do, the program closed March 31st. We take care of the applications that stagger through, and the program's now been wrapped. It's a data-rich program for us because it is our most mature online service. So we now are in the mode of where do we have opportunities to potentially look at options for the HARP program while maintaining within the budget. So that's where we are now.
MLA Lachance.
Has the current Minister of Energy met with the current Minister of Service Nova Scotia to talk about HARP and to talk about the other energy affordability programs that are available?
Deputy Munro.
Conversations across departments happen all the time at the staff level. Our minister has not met specifically with the Premier on the energy affordability programs, but certainly staff members are in touch regularly and share.
MLA Lachance, please.
Thank you. And of course, I know that there's lots of collaboration that's happening amongst staff, but I think, one really important point is that the Minister of Energy needs to be responding to Nova Scotians and their needs now, medium term and long term. And so, not having met with the Affordable Energy Task Force, not having met with the Minister to talk about HARP, which is, a key part of affordability, I think is really concerning in terms of the emphasis where the energy of, ironically, where the energy of the Energy Minister is being put. We need, Nova Scotians need help now and in the future. turning to Deputy MacDonald, so, you know, there are various different programs. We've just heard about HARP and its enormous reduction in funding and support. But we also heard at last week's or 2 weeks ago, MRED, that some municipalities are also engaging in supporting their residents in terms of responding to energy costs and power costs. And so, you know, Bridgewater, for instance, is providing some support. You know, I guess I'm wondering, is the Minister of Energy concerned about a patchwork approach emerging across the province where some municipalities will have the capacity to offer additional support to their residents and to Nova Scotians, whereas, you know, a couple of exits down the highway, other municipalities won't be in a position to provide that kind of support?
Deputy MacDonald?
Thank you. Thank you. Look, what I would say is that municipalities are often at the front lines and closest to those individuals, families that are facing energy challenges around energy affordability, energy poverty. And a number of municipalities in the province, Bridgewater, you noted, Halifax Regional Municipality comes to mind as well, have implemented a number of supports or very progressive measures to help with energy affordability. I know that the department works very closely with municipalities and has over the years to ensure that they have the knowledge, support, other resources, if applicable, to help support those initiatives. I do know that through Efficiency Nova Scotia, there are programs, I'm thinking specifically of the Energy Manager Program, which is in part supported financially by the province. My colleagues at Efficiency could talk about that program in more detail, but there are a number of embedded energy managers with municipalities that do provide very specific support, often technical in nature, which can be difficult to come by. So,
MLA Lachance.
Has the current Minister of Energy sat down with the Minister responsible for municipal affairs and or folks from the NSFM to talk about how municipalities are responding to energy poverty in their communities?
Deputy MacDonald?
I'm not aware of that meeting taking place since I've been appointed deputy. I can follow up to see whether or not that has taken place previously.
Thank you. MLA Lachance.
Do I have left?
5
Amazing.
minutes. 4 minutes.
This is our rapid fire session. It's going very well. Previously, the former president and CEO of Nova Scotia Power met frequently with government, and I'm wondering, has the new president and CEO met with the energy minister?
Deputy MacDonald.
I don't believe that meeting has occurred. I did meet with the new CEO of Nova Scotia Power last week, twice, and but I'm not aware of whether the Minister of Energy / Premier has met with that individual.
MLA Lachance.
And so some of the discussion around efficiency. So as an industry, as a source of jobs and as a source of jobs that can be now, right? So like we can have more people involved in the energy efficiency sector starting today, starting tomorrow. I guess I'm wondering, and perhaps maybe Ms. Casey could comment on this, but are we training enough people in Nova Scotia for the efficiency sector?
Ms. Casey?
Thank you. So we believe there's always an opportunity to do more, but we do have programs in place to work. One of our programs is called the Efficiency Preferred Partner Network, and this enables contractors and other partners to be able to access training materials and things that would help recruit and retain staff and also develop their skills as the industry evolves. We also have programs that reach communities across the province starting from a young age. So people are aware of what opportunities may be out there and may not be obvious, right? There's like MLA Lachance, you'd mentioned, there's all kinds of things people could be doing, and we just want people to be aware of that.
MLA Lachance?
And a question for Deputy MacDonald. And so has the Minister of Energy looked at the workforce implications and opportunities in energy efficiency?
Deputy MacDonald.
So what I would say to that is, in my time as Deputy Minister, I've not spoken to the Premier Minister about those initiatives. I do feel confident in saying that over my 14 years tenure as CEO with Efficiency One and during the Premier's time as Premier and opposition as an opposition MLA, that I'm confident that he's well aware of the opportunities and very supportive of the jobs in this sector.
MLA Lachance.
And I think, though, that, you know, really being aware, but also, like, getting down to the hard numbers. So what are the opportunities? Who are we training? How many people are entering the workforce? And again, this idea that, you know, we hear a lot about the long-term energy projects that are like 10 years or like 20 years out in terms of their potential for employment, which is, you know, important. But there's employment opportunities now for Nova Scotians and around rural Nova Scotia, and all the things that we hear about we could be doing now. So I think, you know, I guess I would be curious in a bit more detail in terms of, if not the minister, then yourself, in terms of what you're tracking, in terms of graduates from different programs and yeah, the efficiency workforce.
Deputy MacDonald with 20 seconds.
Sorry.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. There is tremendous opportunities in the province through energy efficiency, but also the more broader economic opportunities associated with developing our resources. The Nova Scotia Community College, I'm aware, has enhanced over the years its opportunities for training education for the workforce.
Order, please. I apologize. I'm going to move on to MLA Mumbercat. Perhaps he will allow the deputy to finish his answer. Just asking. Okay. All right. MLA Mumbercat.
Yeah, and I appreciate it. It is the rapid fire time. But I do want to say this, and I appreciate everybody being here. I've had the opportunity to work with many of you over the years on some really great projects that have supported people across this province who needed it the most. But I am calling out publicly that I believe we need an independent energy minister. To my colleague's point, the Premier and the Energy Minister is out traveling around like everybody else did. He's down in Texas. I traveled with some of you down to Texas, OTC, talking with companies, promoting the offshore, promoting offshore wind, doing all of the things that are necessary and important to ensure that we're doing whatever we can to unlock the potential of this province. But obviously, based on what I'm hearing today, when it comes to some of our most vulnerable Nova Scotians and some of the most important topics that we need to be discussing to support people in this province, those people are not getting through the door to meet with the energy minister. They're not, because he doesn't need to hold both titles. And there's always been an independent energy minister in this province, and that was the key person who met with energy partners, whether it was offshore wind, whether it was onshore or offshore resource development, whether it was supporting Nova Scotians that needed help the most, a clear path of communication with the leadership of Nova Scotia Power. There was always access because we always needed it, because there was always something. This file is always evolving. And what we're learning today in this committee is that people are not getting through the door to meet the minister. That is not a reflection of the department at all. Wonderful staff within the department that work hard every day to support Nova Scotians. But obviously there is a problem here when I hear over and over again that people are requesting meetings or questions are being asked if the energy minister has met on critical aspects of supporting people at a time when power rates are where they are. People are struggling to make ends meet, to pay their bills, and those conversations, I feel, need to happen at a political level, that need to happen at that political leadership level, are not happening. I'm calling for an independent energy minister. We need that so people can have the conversations and the access that they need to the elected leadership within that department. So I wanted to say that that is clear to me that is happening, and it shouldn't be. And the Premier can still be the Premier, and he can still travel and promote all of the things that premiers promote. But having an independent energy minister matters. It does in this case, especially when this file is impacting Nova Scotians severely in cases, and it's always evolving. So that's I probably used half of my time on that. But I do want to talk about the offshore opportunities, because they are. You know what I mean? The Wind West is the name of it today. You know, back in the day, Mr. Craig, we were talking about this ourselves, looking at potential in the offshore. I just want to try to get a timeline from your perspective on, in the quickest way possible, because I'll have a couple other questions if I can get them in. Like, what does the timeline look like? So in a perfect scenario, we have bids, there are companies, they come in, you still got to move that power. What does that infrastructure look like? What kind of timeline do you figure in the best case scenario?
Deputy MacDonald?
If I could just clarify, are you referring to offshore wind or offshore oil and gas?
Offshore wind.
Yeah, offshore wind. So this is a very long-term project. This is a brand new resource that's being developed off the coast of Nova Scotia. There are no offshore wind farms in Canada. So the development period, excuse me, the development period is quite a long period of time. And it's also being done in combination with our partners at the federal government. This is a joint jurisdictional issue. The Premier as Minister of Energy and the Federal Minister of Natural Resources and Renewables have agreed to cooperate and work very closely on making sure that the regulatory regime for setting up offshore wind is in place. The Premier is working very hard to create interest in the offshore opportunity. I should also recognize and acknowledge the efforts of MLA McLeod, who is the ministerial assistant to the Minister of Energy, who has also been doing a lot of heavy lifting on this file and many other energy-related files.
Go ahead, Mr. MacDonald.
Yeah.
Ignore him.
Thank you. So it is very much a long-term project, but what I can say is that the focus of the department, this is one of the priorities of the department. There's a tremendous amount of focus that's being placed on this, and to ensure that this is a resource that we can develop for the benefit of Nova Scotians and all Canadians.
Emily Membercap.
I should have waited till my microphone was on and said, we'll make Mr. McLeod the minister then. Make him the permanent minister of the department. You know what? I'm sure he'd work hard, and that's what Nova Scotians deserve, is an independent minister. Let's talk about the offshore oil and gas. So we have a bid, and we talk about the potential in like trying to find our own resource around fluctuating fuel prices around the world. So we have one company that's come in. They've placed a bid. Is everything on track? They have the money in place now to start the work, or do they have to raise it? I'm just trying to get an update for Nova Scotians. I've dealt with a few of the companies who have come and gone over the years, so I'm just curious to hear your thoughts.
Deputy MacDonald.
Thank you. That is a process, the call for bids and the awarding of the bids, that's being led by the Canada-Nova Scotia Offshore Petroleum Resources Board. The first call for bids closed April 28th or 29th. One bid was for 2 parcels. The proponent has 30 days to provide a deposit of up to 25%. We're still in that 30-day window. We have no reason to believe that any concerns about their ability to raise money or make that deposit and eventually execute the exploration work.
MLA Membercat with 3 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do want to ask a question around onshore wind, and we saw the big project in Mersey River, the renewable to retail. I always give recognition to Stephen McNeil. It was one of his first bills that he passed when he was in government, and I guess my question is, it's interesting not to play too much politics, but the federal Conservatives have come out pretty hard against that project, which is unfortunate, and I hope my colleagues on the Conservative side talk to their Conservative brothers and sisters and tell them that that's wrong, that that's actually a great project. But what opportunities are you looking at when it comes to using that legislation and the potential for more onshore wind opportunities?
Deputy MacDonald with 2 minutes.
If it's okay with the chair, I'd like to ask Mr. Craig to respond to that.
Mr. Craig, please.
Thanks for the question. And I'll just start by saying that we have about 900 megawatts of wind at various stages of construction in the province right now. There's no shortage of opportunity. We're about to embark on another procurement and expecting another 350 megawatts of wind to result from that procurement. That being said, there's no obstacle to further renewable to retail projects coming online. Since the introduction of that legislation, the department has received questions from prospective projects looking to set up in Nova Scotia and undertake that process and evaluate how they could identify customers and acquire them. That's actually intensified since the successful, I don't want to presuppose the outcome, but the announcement of the Mersey River Wind Project with renewal has spurred a considerable re-interest in that process. I can't really discuss the positions of those various companies, but there's no shortage of interest. There's a pretty clear opportunity there, and it's very clear that wind forms a substantial and important part of Nova Scotia's energy future.
MLA Membercat with 50 seconds.
50 seconds, okay. That's not enough time for Q&A, but I just want to thank everybody for being here. You all play a really significant role in trying to support folks. We debate policies as government. We want to see more investment in certain aspects. We're concerned about some of the cuts that have been made around some of the programs that support our most vulnerable. But, I've seen firsthand over my political career the work that everybody does, the potential that is here for the province, what's happening in Nova Scotia right now. And I just want to thank you all. You're all, in some ways, advocates to help support people who are really feeling the pinch right now. So we really need to do whatever we can, all of us collectively, because people are really hurting. You know what I mean? Like, energy poverty is just absolutely crushing families right now.
Thank you very much. And we will move to MLA McGilvery, please.
Madam Chair. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Just to respond to members' concerns, I can only speak from caucus meetings, but I know that energy affordability is often a topic at caucus meetings, and the conversation led by the Premier and the Minister, and also with input from the Ministerial Assistants. So I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you. Question for Mr. Lanteigne. You mentioned how the Salvation Army Heat Fund is supported by Nova Scotia Power, and there's hundreds of people who are supported through that program. I would have thought the number would be more in the thousands. So I'm wondering, in 2006, as the founding chairperson of the Pictou County Fuel Fund, Mr. Benjamin mentioned fuel funds earlier. I'm wondering if you also support, because they're still in existence, that's 20 years later, and they hundreds of thousands of dollars a year they support residents of Pictou County with. I'm just wondering if you also support fuel funds like that, like local fuel funds, in addition to the Salvation Army Heat Fund.
Mr. Lanteigne, please.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So you are right. I mentioned that the Heat Fund program for Nova Scotia Power, so it does support hundreds. I think this year it was just over 800 customers that were supported through it. Nova Scotia Power does make a donation every year. We have, it's $300,000 that we donate to that program, and of course government helps support it as well. In terms of the fund that you mentioned, we do not directly support it, but what I will say is we work very closely with organizations across the province. We have a dedicated low-income advocate that will work with local charities and other organizations that are often, working right with customers who are struggling to see if there's ways that we can help them out. So similar to conversations we've had on the Energy Poverty Task Force, if there's any kind of conversations, whether it's a local organization or a provincial program that's underway, Nova Scotia Power is definitely happy to be at the table to talk about ways that we can best help.
MLA McGilvery.
Thank you. And I'll pass it on to my colleague, MLA Timmins, please.
MLA Timmins.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, everybody, for coming. We can all sit around this table and we can obviously see the partnerships that are sitting here. And our Minister of Energy and our Premier encourage those partnerships as well. And it's been obvious in the media that we've seen him build future partnerships. and look towards the future of energy affordability and so on. So my question is to the Department of Energy. And we do realize that the federal funding is ending for the oil and heat pump program. And but how does our department maximize the federal funding that can be used to support energy affordability?
Mr. MacDonald.
Thank you. What I can say is the federal government definitely has a strong interest in supporting energy affordability. And there's probably 4 examples that I can give in terms of how the province has worked with the federal government to helping to support energy affordability. The one that's been brought up a few times today, this morning, is energy efficiency. And so since 2022, the province has invested over $250 million of provincial monies directed towards low and moderate income Nova Scotians to help with energy efficiency. But that's helped to leverage over $300 million in federal funding to match that. And one of the benefits of the efficiency regime we have here is the ability to combine administration for those programs. And so to help lower the costs and ensure that more monies get directly into the wall, so to speak, of Nova Scotia homes or apartment buildings or whatnot. The second area is around wind and battery projects, and so the federal government has played a fairly significant role being led by the province in terms of identifying opportunities where the province or the federal government can support. The Canada Infrastructure Bank has been critical in supporting a number of projects, including battery storage projects, wind in the province. The transmission intertie between Nova Scotia and New Brunswick, the federal government played quite a important role in supporting that project. Again, the province needs to help show the pathway for that. And the fourth is around, as my colleague Mr. Craig mentioned, the support for the fuel adjustment mechanism, Nova Scotia Power. There was a $500 million federal loan guarantee. Although I wasn't involved in the conversation at the time, I feel quite confident saying that that would not have happened without the advocacy efforts of the department and of the province.
Emily Outfit, please.
Good morning, welcome, and thank you for being here. I love following how things evolve and change over time. This is something I like doing, and at the risk of, certainly like my colleague, Mr. Mumbercat, I don't want to be political, but I definitely think that it's very interesting. The importance of energy is so important to this province that the Premier has decided to make it his priority as well. So bringing that added attention and profile to that. So I would argue that him stepping into that role with wonderful help from our engineer here, Mr. McLeod, shows the importance that it is for him and for this province. Talking about evolution and progress, can you just, I want to go back to HARP for a moment. Can you just tell me a little bit about how it's evolved over the years, how you apply, how people access, and how you're dealing with changing families and compositions of households and whatnot. So just a quick little evolution on how HARP has evolved and addressed other issues and changing things. So, yeah.
Deputy Munro, and we have about 3.5 minutes.
Well, I'll certainly start off with who we help with the HARP program. A large component, 50%, is our senior population, and it has evolved. I mean, it is now an online service offering with 96% of applications received online. That is excluding the 19,000 opt-in. But the team is constantly looking at how do we make it easier for citizens to apply to the HARP program, and how we've evolved in building out the awareness of the program, I think is important, what we do every year. Initially, we had started, everybody provided a heat bill because that's one of the key criterions. Is to provide a heat bill, but really over time, those that own a home, they have their heat bill and they've qualified, and so we don't need to ask that every year. So we've evolved it to make it easier, and so now only new applicants require to have a heat bill. Certainly people can submit their heat bill, but again, it's about making it easier. At the end of the day, there's families, single families, multiple units that some qualify for HARP with the use of electricity. But the evolution of the online digital service where, in fact, we get dollars out the door very quickly, about 44,000 applications came in the first week, and those we get dollars in people's account 2 weeks later. Even though we say, you know, we advise it can take up to 8 weeks, but that's evolving with, you know, people providing applications that are, you know, more complete and so on and so forth. So it has evolved. It's a continuous improvement. With the budget that we have, we try to maximize the reach to Nova Scotians based on the eligibility that is in place at the time, and that's looked at an annual basis as we continue on. So maybe my colleague ADM O'Toole could augment.
ADM O'Toole with 1 minute and 15 seconds.
Sure, happy to contribute. One of the other areas that the program has evolved is, in terms of making it easier for people to apply for the program, is the opt-in through the property tax rebate for seniors. So that's a number of years ago, there was a change in that application process that we wanted to make sure that people who are applying don't need to apply twice to access critical funds for them. And so seniors, when they're applying for their property tax rebate, can check a box and opt into HARP, and then their application is automatically considered as part of the HARP program as well. So that's another way. And so we're always looking at ways we can evolve. How can we make the application shorter but still collect critical information? So it's down to, I think, 1.5 pages or 2 pages of tombstone information that we need from people to be able to apply, make it as easy as possible. So we're always looking at ways to improve the program in that way.
Yeah, 20 seconds.
20 seconds.
MLA outfit.
I will just say thank you very much for being here, and please continue doing this important work, all of you. It is appreciated and needed, so thank you.
Thank you very much. And I will say 2 quick comments. Deputy Munro, if 96% of the folks apply for that online, I think 50% of them apply from the MLA office in Dartmouth North, because when that application opens, our office is swamped for weeks. Secondly, I will say to my esteemed colleagues, if you have to say, I don't mean to get political, you're getting political. And remember that that PAC is supposed to be, you know, multi-partisan approach. I'm just lightly reminding us all. So thank you very much. Wondering if our guests have any quick closing remarks. Deputy MacDonald, no. Deputy Munro, no. Anyone else? Mr. Benjamin, please.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that there are a number of good programs, as we have heard. Nova Scotia has the highest rate of energy poverty in the country. The last estimate I heard was 40% based on Efficiency Nova Scotia's numbers. That is why we have a number of good programs to help people in energy poverty, because it's a serious problem here. What the Energy Poverty Task Force got together to look at was what could be a more integrated solution that would help more households. And that was based, again, on the Clean Energy Task Force Solutions recommendation, number 12 in their recommendations, the often forgotten recommendation to address energy poverty. We based that model on existing models, not only in Ontario, but many in the United States that have been proven effective. We had a world-renowned expert design the program based on our energy mix. It is an affordable solution. At the time, the estimated cost was $30 million. That's gone up to about a little under 50 based on the cuts to HARP, because part of the savings of that program would be lower costs for HARP, as some of the HARP users would switch to this home energy assistance program. It's an affordable solution that we estimate would pull 27,500 Nova Scotian households out of energy poverty. It's been on government desks for 2 years. If you haven't already read it, I highly recommend you read it. As we've heard, we are attempting to get a meeting with the Minister of Energy / Premier to further discuss. We did meet with the previous Minister of Energy a year ago and had a good meeting, a positive meeting, but we've seen no action. So I urge you, for the sake of the 40% of this province living in energy poverty, to enact the recommendations of that report. Thank you.
Thank you. And maybe, Mr. Benjamin, you could update our committee with a letter in the next month or 6 weeks, letting us know if a meeting has come up. That would be helpful for us. Thank you. Mr. Lanteigne, do you have any closing comments? Anyone else? Okay, great. Well, thank you very much, folks. We have a bit of committee business, but you can take your leave, and we will continue to meet. Thank you. Maybe we'll take a 1-minute recess. Order, please. I'd like to call the meeting back to order. Order, please. So thank you, folks. We have a few items of business on the agenda. So the first one is correspondence. We have a letter from the Department of Service Nova Scotia with information requested from the April 15th meeting. Is there any discussion on that? Great. And we also have a letter from the Department of Cybersecurity and Digital Solutions with information requested from the April 15th meeting. Any discussion on that? Okay, thank you. Next, we have the endorsement of the Auditor General recommendations from the 2026 report of the Auditor General, Action for Health Key Performance Indicators. As you know, we have a practice of endorsing Auditor General recommendations, so I need to ask for a motion to endorse the recommendations.
The motion's been passed out.
Oh, the motion has been passed out, so we just need someone to move it, please. MLA McLeod.
I move that the Public Accounts Committee formally accept and endorse recommendations contained in the 2026 report of the Auditor General, Action for Health Key Performance Indicators, that have been accepted by the audited departments or agencies, and ask that those departments and agencies commit to and take responsibility for full and timely implementation of the recommendations accepted by those departments and agencies.
Okay, thank you. There's a motion. Any discussion? Oh, okay. I forgot. We need a seconder, right? Oh, we don't. Okay. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of the motion? Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. Now we have the decisions from the May 6th meeting, and those were the ones that were in camera, correct? Right. Yeah.
They've agreed to be made public.
Yes. So we made motions that were agreed to be made public, so I'm going to read them into the record from May 6th meeting. The first one is that the Public Accounts Committee requests the Department of Opportunities and Social Development to appear and talk about their implementation of the May 2024 audit at the next available opportunity. And that the second one is that we will try our best to schedule cybersecurity and digital solutions at the next available date in the fall for an in-camera meeting on the progress on their report, or on the Auditor General's report about cybersecurity in healthcare. So those are now public. I'm going to ask the clerk to make those requests. The next thing is the June meeting schedule. Oh, yes. So currently, we have meetings scheduled to June 17th. As you know, June is an incredibly busy time for communities, school celebrations, et cetera. And I'm wanting to know if the committee would like to schedule a meeting past June 17th, or if we shall leave it at June 17th and then resume in the September. Comments on or discussion on that? MLA McLeod.
Thank you for bringing this up. So I think it's that last week in June where we have all the high school graduations that we try to attend. Okay, something has come up. So June 17th, I believe, is our out-of-town caucus, and it's going to be really difficult for our members to attend.
Okay.
So just kind of considering the amount of time between now and then, is it possible to maybe move to like the first week of July or something, or we can try to do something else? Is
Yes.
that date flexible?
Well, we can. I can discuss with the clerk, but normally, if there is an out-of-town caucus like that falls on a Wednesday, we do accommodate that. So we would move the meeting or figure something else out.
Okay.
I don't know if it's been scheduled with witnesses yet, but we will. Maybe what I'll do is ask the clerk to sort of look at possibilities if there's any empty spots in the schedule, and we'll get back to everyone. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Okay. So, but I just want to go back to my original thing about the following week. Do we want, I mean, maybe given this, we want to schedule that meeting for the following week, but it is a very busy week with graduations, et cetera. I just want to make sure that that is the last week of June, like that is the graduation week. Okay, yeah. Okay, so can someone make a motion, or I don't know, you don't need a motion, but can someone, can we just have an agreement that we do not want to sit in the last week of June? Is that correct? That's what I'm hearing. Okay, one moment. Okay, now I'm going to canvass the room. MLA McLeod suggested that possibly that June 17th meeting, which needs to be moved, could happen on the Wednesday of the first week of July. Wondering how people feel about. Oh, it's July 1st? It's actually July 1st? Okay, never mind. Yeah, but it's a holiday, so we wouldn't have staff here, so we can't do that one. Okay, all right, well, if there's, is there? I'm trying to be nice. MLA Timmons?
I'm just looking, yeah, it is July 1st, sorry. Is there any way to do it on a Thursday? Or is that unusual or out of the question, or do we just want, there's no committees meeting on Thursday? Okay, that was just a suggestion.
I'm going to talk to our folks. Let's give it a couple of days.
Emily LaChance.
And I just want to clarify, so our next meeting is June 3rd?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and if I'm picking up what you're putting down there, MLA LaChance, because we do have 2 empty slots in the next 2 weeks, but it wouldn't give enough time to reschedule that June 17th meeting. At least that's what, it would be very difficult to do. Okay, so we'll come back to this, and maybe we can discuss over email. So we'll leave it there for now, and
I can put it on the schedule for next week if you want.
okay, so I will say that our next meeting, as you just said, is June 3rd. Department of Education and Early Childhood Development, Childcare Now, Nova Scotia, the YWCA Halifax, regarding the Canada-Nova Scotia Canada-wide Early Learning and Child Care Agreement. If there's no further business, I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you.